A slight smile crossed Sarah's face. They're bringing everything they have. Good. It's time they understood what humanity has become. Sarah walked to the center of the bridge, where a holographic display showed the positions of approaching enemy fleets. Each represented hundreds of years of galactic military advancement, ships designed with the latest technology, and crewed by species who had dominated space for millennia. But Sarah felt no fear, only a cold satisfaction that the moment her people had prepared for was finally at hand. Lieutenant Commander, she addressed her communications officer, open a channel to all approaching vessels. It's time they heard from humanity directly. As the channel opened, Sarah's image was broadcast to every ship in the approaching fleets. Her voice carried clearly across space, reaching alien ears that had never heard a human speak outside of historical recordings. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Federation battleship Iron Resolve, she began, her voice calm and steady despite the enormity of the moment. To all alien vessels approaching our position, you have entered human-controlled space. You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw to a minimum safe distance of 10 light minutes, or we will consider your presence an act of war. The response was immediate and predictable. Admiral Fox Prime of the Zentaran fleet transmitted back, his insectoid features twisted with rage and disbelief. Human, your species was eliminated centuries ago for the good of all galactic civilization. You have no claim to any space, no right to make demands. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Sarah's expression didn't change. Admiral, you seem to be operating under a fundamental misunderstanding. Humanity was never eliminated. We simply chose to withdraw and observe while you all grew comfortable in your assumption of superiority. During those 3 centuries, we've been busy. Very busy. As if to emphasize her point, space around the Iron Resolve began to shimmer and distort. One by one, human ships began to decloak, their stealth systems powering down to reveal a fleet that shouldn't have existed. There were dozens of vessels, each one larger and more advanced than anything in the galactic database. Sleek destroyers, massive cruisers, and battleships that dwarfed even the largest alien dreadnoughts. Impossible, whispered Admiral Fox Prime, his confidence evaporating as he stared at the display showing the human fleet. Our intelligence said there were no human manufacturing capabilities left in the galaxy. Your intelligence was designed to find what you expected to see, Sarah replied. Humanity learned long ago that sometimes the best defense is to let your enemies believe they've already won. While you've been fighting each other over trade routes and territory, we've been building, learning, and preparing for this day. The first shot came from a Coraxian war sphere, its captain either too proud or too frightened to listen to reason. The massive plasma bolt streaked across space toward the Iron Resolve, only to be intercepted by a shimmering energy barrier that absorbed the attack completely and redirected it harmlessly into space. That was a mistake, Sarah said calmly. The human fleet's response was swift and devastating. Advanced weaponry that operated on principles the aliens couldn't understand lanced out across space. Ships that had taken decades to build were disabled in seconds, their crews left floating helplessly as their power systems were surgically shut down rather than destroyed. We could have destroyed every one of your vessels, Sarah announced as the alien fleets found themselves completely outgunned and outmaneuvered. Instead, we've simply disabled your weapons and engines. This is humanity's gift to you, a demonstration of our capabilities without unnecessary loss of life. Admiral Fox Prime's voice came through the communication channel, now shaky with fear and confusion. What do you want from us? What we've always wanted, Sarah replied. Recognition, respect, and our rightful place among the stars. For 3 centuries, your civilizations have built a galaxy based on the premise that humanity was a threat that needed to be eliminated. You were right about the threat part, but wrong about elimination being possible. She gestured to her tactical display, showing the positions of disabled alien fleets. Every species represented here participated in what you called the Great Purge. You thought you were saving the galaxy from human aggression. What you actually did was teach us that we could never trust alien civilizations to coexist peacefully with humanity unless we held a position of strength. The Void Seeker's engines roared to life, but the Zephyrian ship was designed for scanning and reconnaissance, not speed. As they tried to retreat, the human battleship's main engines ignited with a brilliant blue-white flame that seemed to burn cold in the vacuum of space. "Commander," Vex 2 screamed over the noise of their straining systems. "They're targeting us. Multiple weapon locks detected." On the main display, Crick 7 watched in horror as the human ship's gun turrets began to track their movement with mechanical precision. The weapons were unlike anything in the Galactic database. Sleek, predatory-looking cannons that seemed to drink in the light around them rather than reflect it. "All power to engines," Crick 7 ordered. "Emergency jump sequence. Get us out of here now." The first human weapon discharge lit up space like a miniature star being born. The energy beam passed so close to the Void Seeker that it ionized their outer hull plating, causing systems throughout the ship to spark and fail. The second shot was closer still, and Crick 7 realized with growing terror that the humans weren't trying to destroy them immediately. They were toying with them, like a predator playing with its prey. As their jump drive finally engaged, and the Void Seeker began to tear a hole in space-time for their escape, Crick 7 caught one last glimpse of the human battleship on their rear sensors. The vessel had fully awakened now, its hull gleaming with power and purpose. But what terrified him most was seeing other shapes beginning to move in the darkness around it, shapes that suggested the battleship wasn't alone. The jump to hyperspace felt like an eternity, and when they finally emerged in the relative safety of the nearest galactic assembly outpost, Crick 7's crew was in a state of shock. They had discovered something that should have remained buried in the darkness of space, something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. "Get me a priority channel to Galactic Command," Crick 7 ordered, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "Tell them we need to speak with the High Council immediately. Tell them the humans are back." As the Void Seeker limped toward the outpost for repairs, none of its crew could shake the feeling that they had awakened something ancient and terrible. Behind them, in the darkness of the outer rim, the human battleship Iron Resolve continued its patrol, its captain and crew now fully aware that their long sleep was over. The galaxy thought it had eliminated humanity 3 centuries ago. They were about to learn how wrong they had been, and how much humans had learned during their long exile in the dark. The Reckoning. Within 12 hours of the Void Seeker's desperate transmission, every major government in the galaxy had received the same terrifying message: humanity was not extinct. The news spread through the galactic communication networks like wildfire, causing panic on worlds that had lived in peace for 3 centuries, believing the human threat had been permanently eliminated. On the capital world of Centauri Prime, the United Galactic Assembly convened its first emergency session in over 50 years. Representatives from dozens of species filled the massive circular chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of fear and disbelief. The Counselor Prime, an ancient Etherian named Lux Maximus, called for order as holographic displays showed the sensor data from the Void Seeker's encounter. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," Lux Maximus intoned, his ethereal voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic enhancement systems. "We face a crisis that challenges everything we believed about our shared history. The species we thought eliminated has returned, and their capabilities appear to have grown beyond our worst fears." Meanwhile, aboard the human battleship Iron Resolve, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge overlooking the vast star field ahead of them. She was tall and lean, with graying hair pulled back in a military style and eyes that held the weight of centuries of exile. Around her, her crew moved with practiced efficiency, checking systems and preparing for what they all knew was coming. "Captain," called out her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, "we're receiving multiple hyperspace signatures. Looks like our Zephyrian friends spread the word pretty quickly." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. "How many fleets are converging on our position?" At least 15 different task forces from various species, Webb replied, consulting his displays. The Zenturans are sending their entire third battle fleet. The Corrections have mobilized their war spheres, and the Vorthan Collective is dispatching their dreadnought Infinity's End. The Discovery. Commander Crick 7 adjusted his multiple optical sensors as he stared at the holographic display aboard the Zephyrian deep space scanning vessel Voidseeker. The ship's sleek crystalline hull reflected the distant stars as it drifted through the empty void of the Outer Rim territories. For the past 6 rotations, they had been conducting routine patrols, mapping asteroid fields, and cataloging space debris that drifted between the major trade routes. The Zephyrians were known throughout the galaxy for their exceptional sensory capabilities and their advanced scanning technology. Their ships served as the eyes and ears of the United Galactic Assembly, detecting threats before they could reach civilized space. Crick 7 had been doing this job for over 2 decades, and he prided himself on his ability to identify any object within 1,000 light minutes of his position. Commander, we're detecting an anomalous signature at bearing 77 Mark IV, reported his scanning officer, Vex 2, her voice carrying the typical harmonic undertones of their species. It appears to be artificial in nature, but the composition readings are unusual. Crick 7 turned his attention to the main display, where a faint blip appeared among the background noise of cosmic radiation. The object was roughly cylindrical, approximately 2 kilometers in length, and appeared to be drifting without power. What made it interesting was its construction material, dense metals and alloys that didn't match any known galactic civilization's standard shipbuilding techniques. Run a full spectrum analysis, Crick 7 ordered, his curiosity piqued, and cross-referenced the design patterns with our historical database. Something about this doesn't feel right. As the Voidseeker moved closer to the mysterious object, its advanced sensors began painting a clearer picture. The vessel's hull was dark gray, almost black, with angular sections that seemed designed for both defense and aggression. Strange symbols were etched along its sides, symbols that made Crick 7's optical sensors strain to focus properly. Commander, Vex 2 called out, her voice now carrying a note of excitement mixed with fear. The database match is coming through. This appears to be a human vessel. The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew turned to stare at the display, their various forms of eyes widening in disbelief. Humans had been extinct for over 300 years, wiped out during the Great Purge when the galaxy united to stop their aggressive expansion. The story spoke of a species so dangerous, so unpredictable, that every major civilization had agreed they needed to be eliminated for the greater good. That's impossible, Crick 7 whispered, but even as he spoke, more details were becoming clear on the scanner. The ship's design matched ancient records of human military vessels, specifically what their historical files classified as a battleship. But this wasn't just any battleship. This was massive, heavily armed, and despite appearing derelict, something about it made Crick 7's sensing organs tingle with unease. "Sir, should we report this to Galactic Command?" asked his communications officer, Zar 9. "Not yet," Crick 7 replied, still staring at the display. "First, we need to confirm what we're seeing. If this really is a human ship, we need to know if there are any survivors aboard. And more importantly, we need to know why it's here." As the Voidseeker approached within 500 kilometers of the human vessel, their scanning equipment began to behave strangely. Displays flickered, sensor readings fluctuated wildly, and several crew members reported feeling dizzy and disoriented. Crick 7 had never experienced anything like it in all his years of service. "Commander, our quantum scanners are detecting residual energy signatures within the vessel," Vex 2 reported, her voice now clearly showing strain. "There are what appear to be life support systems still functioning, and, Commander, I'm reading multiple life signs aboard that ship." The words hit the bridge like a physical blow. If there were humans still alive aboard that vessel, it meant the species hadn't gone extinct as everyone believed. It meant they had been out here, in the darkness between stars, waiting. Full reverse. Crick 7 shouted suddenly, every instinct in his body screaming danger. Get us away from that ship immediately. But it was too late. As if responding to their presence, the human battleship began to change. Running lights that had been dark for centuries suddenly blazed to life along its hull. Weapon ports that had appeared sealed began to iris open with mechanical precision, and from somewhere deep within the vessel's core, a low harmonic vibration began to emanate through space itself. As if to drive the point home, more human ships began appearing throughout the galaxy. Reports flooded in from every major sector, human vessels emerging from hidden bases, revealing centuries of secret construction and preparation. The scope of humanity's hidden presence became clear. They had never left. They had simply become invisible, watching and waiting. The choice before you now is simple, Sarah continued, her voice carrying across space to reach alien ears throughout the galaxy. You can continue to view humanity as a threat to be eliminated, in which case you'll discover exactly how much we've learned during our exile. Or you can accept that we are here to stay and work with us, to build a galaxy where all species can thrive. The silence that followed was deafening. Centuries of assumptions were crumbling in the face of this new reality. The species that had united to destroy humanity now found themselves completely outmatched by the very civilization they thought they had eliminated. Finally, Lux Maximus's voice came through the communication channel from the Galactic Assembly Chambers. Captain Chen, what are your terms for coexistence? Sarah smiled, the first genuine expression of warmth she had shown during the entire encounter. No terms, counselor. No demands for tribute or territory. We simply want what every species wants, the right to exist, to grow, and to contribute to galactic civilization. The only difference is that now you understand we have the capability to ensure that right is respected. As the human fleet began to withdraw, leaving the disabled alien vessels to contemplate their new reality, Sarah looked out at the stars and felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The long exile was over. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as equals who could no longer be ignored or eliminated. The galaxy would never be the same, but for the first time in centuries, it might actually be better. The age of human hiding was over. The age of true galactic cooperation was about to begin. In the darkness between stars, more human ships continued their patrol, no longer hiding in the shadows, but standing openly as guardians of a new era. The aliens had tried to track a human warship and discovered something they never expected. That humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced technology or superior tactics. It was their refusal to give up, their determination to survive, and their ability to turn exile into opportunity. The galaxy had created its own greatest challenge by trying to eliminate humanity. Now they would all have to live with the consequences of that choice, and perhaps, if they were wise, learn to appreciate the strength that came from diversity rather than uniformity. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if welcoming humanity back to their rightful place among them.